Hey, Time Clock Killers, and welcome to another edition of the Time Clock Killers podcast, where we educate, inspire, and encourage new and aspiring entrepreneurs to clock out for good.
I'm your host, Nathan.
And I'm your co-host, Kara. Let's jump right in. Welcome back to Time Clock Killers podcast, guys. We want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in, who gave us some great feedback, some comments, some questions. Forever grateful to you guys for tuning in. So please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening to it at, and definitely check us out on YouTube as well. So one of my expectations for this week is to get our household schedule in order and revisit it and revamp it to where we can get a better work-home life balance for me.
Okay.
Nathan thinks that we do this every week, and I have been working on this for the last 2 weeks. But it's something that is very important because I'm here all day and I work from home and we have our kids, and Nathan, he runs on his own schedule.
Cry me a river. Besides
employees, he kind of does his own thing.
It's Cal. Anyway, so you're going to revamp the schedule for the 15,000th time, which I'm cool with that.
Well, sometimes it takes 20,000 till we get it right.
I'm cool with that. All right, yo, we got a podcast to record. So, let me just ask you though, like, where are all of the sheets of paper of like your old schedule? Like, you can't like copy and paste, like, some stuff from last year, the year before that, to kind of incorporate them into this year's schedule?
No, so I've had two schedules. Well, for one, this year just started, so I don't have any schedules for this year. But the schedule from the beginning of the school year is completely different than the schedule from the summer. So now I have to find a way to match those, and now create like a winter, spring, end of school year, new tax season, new year, new tax year, I guess you want to call it, for the business kind of schedule.
Yeah, let me tell you. So, Kara one time said, you know what? I'm going to make me a schedule for food for the kids. So I walked in. Hold on, baby. I walked in on the refrigerator. I was like, man, it was early. I shuffled in the kitchen. I was like, I seen a piece of paper. It's kind of colorful and all that. So as I'm looking at the menu for the week for the kids, I'm like, man, all I seen was cereal.
He's lying.
Monday cereal, Tuesday cereal, Wednesday it might have been like some noodles or
cereal
something.
Or oatmeal. Really, noodles? They don't ever get noodles for breakfast.
I'm like, man, she got a cold schedule going on.
Do not listen to him. Like, you gonna have people thinking I don't cook for my kids or my family for breakfast.
You do.
No, guys, they may have cereal once or twice a week for breakfast.
Maybe 3.
No, 2. And they'll have oatmeal. I'll cook breakfast a couple times a week. But your girl is busy, and I don't have time to get up every single day and make a full spread for breakfast. Even though I like to do that, and my family likes for me to do that. Like I said, work-life balance. That's why I got to revamp this schedule.
Okay. Let's go back and talk about how you even got here.
It is 2017. And for me, I'm about to graduate college. I'm about a month away. And up until this point, probably my last year of college, I think that I was a stay-at-home mom, but not for real, because I also was going to school, and I was actually going to school. And so our kids were one was in like pre-K and one was in daycare. So now we're in Dallas. I'm about to graduate, or I have graduated at this point, and I started looking for jobs. I actually got a great job offer for a marketing manager at a up-and-coming PR firm, or it was actually a marketing agency. It wasn't a PR firm. I was looking for jobs at a PR firm, but I got the job at a marketing agency. It was an entry-level position, and the pay was okay for where we were at in our lives. And it was going to be 2 incomes where we had been kind of accustomed to one at this point. Well, I found out I was pregnant. And I was devastated, to say the least. Not because we weren't looking to have any more kids.
I was about to say, I mean, we wasn't using contraception, so what would you expect?
I mean, yeah, not that we didn't think it could happen or something, but I was excited. I had been waiting. 7 years had built up, right? I was about to go to work and be like this boss. And like, life clearly had other plans for us. The reality hit me like a ton of bricks that, ma'am, your entry level salary is not about to cover the tuition for daycare for 2 babies, or a toddler and a baby, and after school care for our oldest daughter. So I took a few months, and I was pretty depressed, actually, guys. And everyone was like, oh, just enjoy the time with your kids, yada yada. Like, they were basically telling me like I should just be grateful to be able to be a stay-at-home mom and just take care of my kids and my husband. That was not me. Anyone who knows me knows I've always been a busybody. I like to go. I like to take care of things. I like to help people. I definitely liked, making money and helping my household. And I've always been like that in our relationship.
So before you finish, can you kind of like give people maybe some tips on how you got over that depression?
So I wallowed in it for, a couple months. But then I realized that we were going to have to do something to change the situation. I was feeling how I was feeling, and I think a part of that had to do with our finances were not in the best shape. And I was having to realize that there was going to have to be some kind of change. Like, I had to find my own way. How you find what you're passionate about, the only way is by doing it. I think I'm an advocate for always trying something new. Even if it puts you out of your comfort zone, try it because you may love it, right? Nathan talked about entrepreneurship for years. I was very big into school. I'm going to go to school and I'm going to get me a job, and that's okay. I'm going to be a boss at my job. I had a couple side hustles, but I never gave entrepreneurship a fair shake. And when I was put in a position that I had to do that, I actually found that I really loved it. It was a way that I still could be the boss that I always wanted to be, that I am able to, if I don't feel like working on a certain day, I can't do it every day, but I don't. I can take and say, you know what, today I'm going to have a girls' day with the kids, or today I can't do it. Like, I need a mental health day. I'm going to take time for myself. I'm going to do my hair, do my nails, whatever I need to do. And I have the freedom to do that. So I just think take time for yourself and try all kinds of different things. Exposure. Expose yourself to different things. We are sometimes put in a box and we don't know what we like or what we want to do because we've never experienced it. We never saw anything like it. Matter of fact, growing up, no one told me that I could be an entrepreneur. I was told that in my household, when you grow up and you turn 18, it was go to college or go to Uncle Sam. I definitely wasn't going to the military. So, baby, it was college for me.
For sure. Nobody
told me that, hey, you have an idea or a service or product, you can start your own business. You can be your own boss. And you can make way more money doing it. You have control of it. There's no cap on you if you do that. If I go to school and I would have went to school and I would have got, if I would have, pursued the marketing manager position or even got a job at the PR firm, there would have been a cap on my salary. I would have basically been fighting people for a job and for a position and the position maybe that I desired, that I did desire. If I say I want to be a boss, that's going to take me 10, 15 years if I ever actually reach that. And with me having the way my life was set up with already having kids before I went into that, most of the time, unfortunately for a woman, getting in those positions, even though I took 10 or 15 years, I probably wouldn't have been able to do it simply because I did have a family at home, and the work that's required in bigger companies to get into those positions, you're not able to. So I think something too that needs to be addressed is sometimes your life is not set up for a job, and for me, my life wasn't set up for a job.
100%. So, when is the time where you know that your life isn't set up for a job? Like the transition from that point to entrepreneurship, was it a strange concept in your mind? Like, man, like what does this look like? Because you just said nobody's ever taught you what entrepreneurship was, so therefore you probably never seen anybody do it. So what were some things that you were able to look at? What was some information that you was able to gather? What books, what videos did you read to get your mind in that mode of like, okay, I can do this? Like, what gave you the confidence? What were you telling yourself? Kind of share with the people those thoughts.
I mean, as I've stated, I didn't, my goal, I didn't grow up saying I want to be an entrepreneur. This was something that was born out of necessity, not out of an idea that I had that this is just what I want to do. I will say a book that I did read eventually, right, because I was used to reading the books that professors told me to read. But once I did get into entrepreneurship and I actually began to take it seriously, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad was the first book that I read that it was like a light bulb went off, and I was like, okay, I can do this. I can become extremely wealthy by working for myself or owning a business. And I definitely want to change that, because working for yourself and owning a business are two completely different things.
Expound on it.
Okay, so working for yourself is you're basically just trading your job and your boss to be your own boss, and you're giving yourself a job. Generally, you're working by yourself in whatever you're doing with no employees. That's you're self-employed, which is completely different than owning a business. So when you're self-employed, you determine what work's going to be done, how it's going to be done, because you're doing the work. If I have a bake shop, right, I'm the one opening the doors. At the time that we open up, I'm the one back there baking, icing, selling, cleaning up at the end of the day and closing shop. That is working for yourself. That's being self-employed. If I own a bake shop and I'm just running that business, then it looks slightly different, right? I've hired an employee who opens. Maybe I have someone who bakes and icings, and maybe I have a cashier who checks customers out, and then maybe closes up and cleans up at the end of the night. All I'm doing is I'm sitting in the back office there, making sure that they're supervised well, and that's if I'm there. Maybe I have a supervisor in place, but I'm doing different work. I'm making sure that the finances,
high level work,
exactly, the more of the
thinking,
the thinking, yeah, that's what we call it. That's definitely more of the, I'm getting paid to think as opposed to getting paid to work. I'm putting people in place. So when you're running a business, your main charge is to be able to recognize good talent and people's strengths and weaknesses and put them in proper position to be able to effectively do something that you
produce for you.
Yeah. Something that you would have to be doing, right, if you didn't have these people.
Oh, 100%. So to kind of round it all out, what is something that you would tell wives who husbands are entrepreneurs and they're not necessarily entrepreneurs? What advice would you give them to stay supportive on that journey of being the neck to somebody who is the head of
the household and a business,
and in a business, and him going out there and killing what the family eats? So speak to that woman who is there with the kids, who does not necessarily is not involved in the business. So speak to that woman to what would you tell her?
So I'll say, first and foremost, if you are if you are a woman who is, he said there with the kids, so I would say maybe a stay-at-home mom. That's absolutely, there's nothing wrong with doing that. I think that's an admirable job. It is. It has been estimated that that is one of the highest paying jobs that a person can have. And unfortunately, you're not compensated for it, but it's definitely a six-figure earning position. Secondly, I would say Nathan said the word, and the number one word is support. You may not be an entrepreneur, but I will say that generally your husband married you for a reason. If he is an entrepreneur, he's seen something in you, whether it's just that you're a good support person, and your level of support may look differently based on whatever your relationship is. Maybe you make sure that he does have his, clothes ironed and his food ready when he comes through the door, or maybe you make sure that he has a schedule. Maybe he's not good at scheduling, but that you have his schedule ironed out for him each day and laid out correctly, which helps him to do what he needs to do. I just think it's supporting him.
Sounds easier said than done.
It's most definitely easier said than done, because he's gonna have bad days and he's gonna have good days.
Speak to the loneliness.
The loneliness as a wife or as a husband? I think that was one of my number one issues of being a stay-at-home mom, and that was everybody else I knew worked. It was definitely lonely. You have kids to talk to, and calling my husband and telling him stuff like that was very trivial, especially when he was having a long day, didn't really make sense. So you just kind of got to keep all that in. And your friends who are working or your family members who are working, they're like, girl, please, you at home in the cool air, being able to take care of your kids, like, just be happy for what you have. And that's not necessarily what I felt. And I think in talking to a lot of stay-at-home moms, that's not what a lot of people feel. It's extremely lonely, and I think that you have to put your feelings and emotions on the back burner, especially when your husband is trying to, or your spouse is trying to run a business and just build something. There's a lot of pressure on their shoulders, especially if you ventured out and you've left your job and you are into full-time entrepreneurship. It is extremely stressful. I know from me personally, anytime I spoke with Nathan and I could tell by his tone he was having a bad day, and towards the end, pretty much all of them were bad days.
I don't want people to overlook the whole stay-at-mom thing, because a large part of your stay at home, you were kind of a shy person. It is a lot better for a woman in that position to be around other women, but you have to put yourself out there. So can you speak about putting yourself out there, requesting different groups, and wanting and being the first one to initiate talking to mothers and asking them, do you want to go out? Do you want to have a play day? Can you speak to that aspect of like kind of getting out of your comfort zone so that you aren't lonely or don't have to feel those feelings of how you feel, because there are other people just like you out there?
So I think I did join groups on Facebook, especially. So we had a few things going on, right? We were new to the area. The area that I moved to was not very diverse. And then
still not.
It's not diverse. So there weren't too many people who looked like me. Most of the age range of people who I lived around, they were older than me. And I think that I was definitely uncomfortable with just like, hey, you want to do a play day with these people? Because especially the ones who are stay-at-home moms, like, they wanted to be. And for me, that job was just not, I knew that me just solely doing that was not it. I think there's a huge misconception with being a stay-at-home mom, and some people enjoy that. But to me, I've always been a worker and a leader, and I wanted to be able to produce. I'll say this. I'm takeaway worker, takeaway leader. I've always been a producer. And in that, I was producing, right? Like I said, I don't want to take away from it. It is I'll say the hardest job that you can possibly have. And there's definitely a lot of misconceptions about what being a stay-at-home mom is. But I think that for my family and our household, what worked for us was not that. So I didn't, I ended up being, kind of building this shell around me, around my family, and I didn't want to meet anybody, which then, I don't know.
I mean, well, thank you for your honesty. You didn't want to talk to and meet nobody. So, ladies, totally don't take that part of the podcast into consideration.
I didn't meet anybody and talk to anyone. I would like to say that life is, as Forrest Gump would say, a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get, and you really don't. If I told you at 21 what I thought my life would be like, at
don't date yourself.
24 and 25, I would be absolutely wrong. And me being wrong in that aspect has been the best thing that's ever happened to our family. I would not change anything that we have going on. I love being a full-time entrepreneur. I love being a stay-at-home mom. I am 100% a mompreneur, and I love it. I love being able to spend time with my husband on our own accord. I love running a business with my husband. I love having our kids be a part of that and learn about things in entrepreneurship, especially in the time that we're in now with COVID, being able to, I cannot homeschool because I'm not a teacher, y'all. But, and I just don't have the patience. But being able to oversee their e-learning, that's really been a blessing. So like I said, I would not change it for absolutely anything. Just because things don't go according to your plan does not mean that God doesn't have a better plan for your life. And I know in my case, he absolutely did. And I believe in everyone's case, he absolutely does. Sometimes we limit ourselves and put ourselves in a box. And do I think that life would have been okay? It would have been good if I would have, continued on with the position that I got here in Dallas. Or if I would have got another position at a PR firm, life would have been good, but it wouldn't have been as great as it is now.
Awesome. So, moral of the story is it's okay to be wrong, ladies and gentlemen. You never know where wrong gets you, and don't ever look at mistakes or shortcomings as a failure. Look at them as a lesson. I think the saying goes, I don't take any L's. I just learn lessons. So man, that was like super awesome to kind of get into the mind of Kara and kind of get her thoughts and how she thinks. You can kind of see why she is my business partner. She is very smart, and when she has her mind set to do something, she's definitely not going to waver from that. So we definitely appreciate her coming on and kind of giving her testimony in a sense, and kind of giving you guys tips and tricks, and just kind of how her a snapshot into how her journey was and kind of how she dealt with things. So hopefully you guys got some good lessons and good tips and things of that nature. If you have any questions for her about her journey or about where you're at in life, definitely do not be shy to contact her. You can email her. So hey guys, if you are listening to the Time Clock Killer podcast, please send in your questions. We would love to answer them. If you have any feedback, we will also love to hear from you. And like we stated, please like, share, and subscribe our YouTube page. We are on platforms for our podcast. Please tell your friends. And if you like what you hear, please check back with us next week. We will have a dynamic podcast for you guys. And like I always say, kill the time clock and don't let the time clock kill you. See you next week.
All right, guys. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, to keep up with all things TCK, Follow us at Time Clock Killers on all social media platforms.